deflected. Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win!
James catches, puts up the three. Won't go. Rebound high. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection.
Portland has 3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant.
To shot.
A chance to send the Thunder home.
Lillard, long range three.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 48 Minutes Podcast. I'm your host today, Sean Mackey, and I am here with Bench Mob co-hosts, if that's a show still, or we're going to get the Bench Mob back together, and regular host here, Ben Brown, who handled duties last week on his own solo. How are you doing today, sir?
Money, I'm so good, Sean. Things are great. We're back in the full swing of basketball. We got good college basketball on tonight. We're starting to get into a groove here in the season. So all is well. All is well. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. On a Tuesday night. The 48 Minutes Network, if you haven't been paying attention, has been extremely busy trying to bring you the most and the best coverage right now in the area with everyone that we're covering, including Xavier University tonight. Tim Daniel is there, UC, and of course my hometown, Northern Kentucky Norse. And tomorrow the UC Bearcats will be playing the NKU Norse at their arena, and it's going to be probably a beatdown. It's going to be probably a beatdown, but that's one that I'm going to be in attendance. I'll be covering that with Tim tomorrow, so be on the lookout for our coverage from that. But we are just really, really deep into basketball season right now, locally, but we're here to talk NBA today, where the big boys play. It's like the WCW of basketball.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Lots been going on, just as always. I just got a text message a couple minutes ago that Nikola Jokic has entered safety protocols, so it sounds like he's going to be out for a little while.
Oh,
here we go again. But
it's that time.
One team that's really hitting their stride right now, a team that made it to the NBA Finals last year, the Boston Celtics, winners of the last seven games. Jason Tatum is playing out of his mind, an MVP candidate already. And he's playing like he actually is trying to prove something. And I'm not sure he plays as well as he does right now without losing last year. I think that really, really damaged a little bit. How are you feeling about the Celtics right now, Ben?
Man, if you had a chance to check them out or see them play, we don't get them a whole lot locally, so it's a lot of like just highlights and different things that we're able to see. But Jason Tatum is playing at an elite level. He's averaging almost 32 points a game. He has been, you can tell it's almost kind of like one of those like revenge tour things where he is just, he's just been on point. And not only that, but he's got Brown by his side, who's averaging like 26 or 27 a game. He still got Marcus Smart. He still got Al Horford. He still got Grant Williams. And the newest addition, actually, we'll get to this guy later on in the night, but Malcolm Brogdon, who's actually come off the bench for them, has actually done a really good job as well. So this team's kind of rolling on all cylinders. They've already been known as a good defensive team. You add Malcolm Brogdon, who is a perimeter stopper, with Marcus Smart, who's a perimeter stopper. Jason Tatum, who is also a really good defender, and Jaylen Brown. Those four are playing lights out as far as defensively as well. So I like this team. I liked them last year. I think they've got a little bit of growth and maturity this year. Jason Tatum, I think, is taking that next step, which it's hard to believe because he had a really good year last year, but he is definitely playing at an elite level right now. So they've won their last 7 pretty convincingly. It's cool to see them kind of come into their own and mature a little bit, even with all the stuff with their coach being suspended, and all the other things that were going on. To see them kind of come together with new leadership and a newfound sense of trying to get something done that they weren't able to get done last year. It's really cool to see that growth. I just hope that they are able to sustain it and continue to be as good as they are. Because of course, when it all is said and done, they'll have to find a way to get past the Bucks.
Yeah.
They'll have to find a way to beat them 4 games. So hopefully they continue to play well.
Yeah, and I mean, looking back at the last 7 victories by the Boston Celtics, some of them have been a little bit on the closer side. They've taken care of business, but as well as I do, and as my wife likes to say, anyone can win in the NBA any night, and you just need to watch the last 3 minutes of the game, as she likes to say. So, which is partially true, and it is a testament of how great this league is and how entertaining it is. Which, you don't see teams come back from 20 points down with, 6 minutes left in the game, typically in college basketball. But NBA, it can happen
absolutely.
Pretty frequently. A team gets on a run, and it's a bit of a magical moment. Last 7 victories, they ended up beating the Thunder last night, 126-122. And I want to go back to the Thunder later on, talk a little bit about them. But they've beaten the Pistons twice in the last week. They beat the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, who have been fantastic. They beat the Knicks, and then they beat the Bulls. 2 teams that they have had some problem. Well, one team they've had some problems with, and a team we're going to talk about in a little while, who's kind of on a losing streak. Cleveland Cavaliers have kind of had the Celtics number so far this season.
Yeah.
They've beaten them twice.
Yeah, they have. There's an old saying in sports, like you only can play who's on your schedule.
Yeah.
So I mean, like
I like that.
If you handle business and do what you're supposed to do, and you beat the teams you're supposed to beat, then it's pretty cool how things can go once you realize that those teams are the teams that you should beat. Like, I'm not saying that the Bulls are a beatable team, but if you look at the Bulls and you look at the Celtics on paper, Celtics probably should win that game. If you look at the only one that's close is the Cavaliers. Like you said, the Cavaliers have had their number, and we're going to talk about them here in a little bit. But like they got wins against like the Pistons. They got wins against some not very good teams. So I think that they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're doing what good teams are supposed to do. And that's beat the teams that that are on your schedule. They have a good one against the Nuggets. They've beat the Pistons twice, which you're supposed to do. They beat a really good Grizzlies team, and they beat the Knicks, who are the Knicks. So I mean, they're winning. They're winning games they're supposed to win. They're doing things they're supposed to do, and with that kind of, if you're playing at that high of level and you're beating teams you're supposed to beat, then that's usually a good sign for success.
Yeah, and a lot of times, as a casual NBA fan watches a game, if you have a game where you have a powerhouse like the Celtics, and they're playing a team like the Kings, like they're going to be doing in a couple weeks. On paper, it always looks like the Celtics are going to be able to beat that team, but in this league, anyone can win. It just depends how motivated you are, and a lot of these times, lot of games are coming off back-to-backs. A lot of them, they're on the road for a few games, and things can just being able to keep things going for a long time. It is a long NBA season, and I think it is
Yes, it is.
probably. I feel like it is a true marathon. It is unlike any other professional sport. 82 games in basketball is a lot of games per year, and if you make it to the playoffs, you could play even a considerable more amount of games. If you make the All-Star team, if you're an All-Star, you're going to play that weekend. So it just never stops during the season for that. Unlike college basketball, which is not as long of a season, baseball, I talk about this all the time. I feel like if I was ever going to play a sport, that would be the best sport to play because you sit half the game. That just seems like even though you have just how many games are in baseball? 160?
162 games. Do you even have to work out for baseball? Like, what the heck? You
I
sit half
know.
the game.
You sit half the game. I'm not going off on baseball players saying they're not great athletes or anything, but you do, it is.
That's funny.
You can you can play 162 games if you're riding a bench half the game. I get it. Football, you don't have that many games. So you look at the NBA as a true marathon. I think it is. I feel like the best athletes are in that league right now because the longevity of a season is it's a lot. And we're seeing more and more injuries, and it's really tough. So to see what the Celtics are doing right now they are number 1 in the league. They are 11-3, which is just incredible. Which is where, honestly, that's where you expect them to be. And if we do not see the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks in an Eastern Conference Finals this year, what are we even doing? What are we even doing? Like, we have to see these teams, and they both won it. Like, you can already tell these guys won it.
Yeah.
And, you look at the Western Conference, and I don't know what the hell's going on over there, man. Trailblazers have the best.
It's a crapshoot, man.
It is
it's
a
an absolute
crapshoot.
Crapshoot. It really is.
I mean, the Warriors are the 10th seed right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about that. The Warriors are a 10 seed. A team like Minnesota that we thought at the beginning of the year was supposed to be really good. You get Rudy Gobert. You still have D'Angelo Russell. You still have Anthony Edwards. You still have Karl-Anthony Towns. And right now they're out of the playoff spot. But then you have a team like Portland where we're like, oh, Portland's going to be not very good. Damian Lillard needs help. He needs guys to play with him. He needs to be traded. He needs some help. And now they sit out with Damian Lillard being hurt the last couple games. And now they sit at 9-4. And Anthony Simons has came out of nowhere to be the leader of that team. And those guys have put together a pretty good start to their season, even with Damian Lillard being out the last couple games.
Yeah. And Simons is the real deal, man. And he is doing exactly what you want to do. Not giving him up in any trades or anything, over the last couple seasons. He is a stud. I really, really like Mr. Simons, even though he's the worst dunk contest winner of all time.
He is.
He can throw down now. He can throw down. I'm not gonna say that the guy can't throw down. He can throw down. But I mean, so this is an interesting stat I was looking at today. Do you know who has the worst road record in the NBA right now? It's a tie.
Ooh. Eastern or Western Conference?
Well, there's one East team and there's one West team.
Oh gosh.
If you were going to be a betting man, what would you say?
I would say, and I'm just looking at teams, if the worst road record, if I were looking at teams, I would say in the Western Conference, let's say Memphis.
Memphis. Okay, so Memphis is 4-4, not terrible. Warriors, 0-7. They have not won one road game this year.
No.
Yeah, same as the Pistons out in the East. Isn't that crazy?
They have not won a single game on the road.
No. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah. Fun fact for today, man. Fun fact for today. If you're the champions, you're gonna have to pick it up, man. This is starting to feel like that last that last year with the Lakers when they brought in Gary Payton and Karl Malone.
Yeah,
It's starting to
you
feel
do get
that way
that.
a little bit.
You do get that Last Dance type feel with them, like it does. Like I mean, and that's not a knock. Like Steph is still Steph,
Yeah.
and Steph has been amazing. But Klay Thompson's not the same. Draymond's kind of lost his luster. Like yeah, like you just kind of get
Well,
that feel like
I mean,
it's just not the same team.
Gary Payton's gone.
Gary
You know,
Payton's gone. Yep.
I mean, I thought he was a huge
Yep.
part of their success last season. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you look at that, man. They're facing an uphill battle right now because they are starting the season 6-8. If the playoffs started today, obviously they wouldn't even be in it. They're the 10th seed
Yeah.
right now. It's crazy. But
And I would
at
hate.
least,
I mean, I hate counting them out, like just because
oh
they're a
yeah,
pedigree and all that stuff. But man, like it's it's almost like you see it and you've seen this movie before, and you know how this goes, and you don't want to say it's coming to an end, but you're like, man, like it just has that feel to it. Now, I'm not saying that they can't bounce back and do whatever, make the playoffs and blah blah blah. Like they are Golden State, but man, it just is, it has. When have you ever known a Golden State team to go 0-7 to start the season on the road?
it's crazy. I mean, that's a rough stat right now. Being able to go into someone's arena and not be the champions right now. I mean, it
Yeah.
is terrible. So, well, speaking of bad, last couple games, we're going to go back to the East here. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are losers of the last four after starting pretty hot this season. I would say that they've had a pretty, with the exception of the two Celtics games, which they won, they've had a pretty nice little schedule so far this season. You know,
Yeah.
they've had a few games against the Knicks, the Pistons, the Clippers ended up beating them this last week. But besides that, they've had a pretty easy schedule, which, kind of makes me think that maybe we're overrating this team just a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And they are
I can see that.
they're very young. So on Sunday night they ended up losing to the Timberwolves in Cleveland, and 129-124. Karl Anthony Towns dropped 29 points on them. D'Lo dropped 30 on them. Teron Prince, 19 points on him. So that's bad. But Darius Garland that game, 51 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds. Holy crap, is that guy good?
50. Yeah, he had a 50 burger, man.
That is really, really impressive. But one guy, who's had, I'm just going to bring it out here, but, a guy that Tim and I talk very highly of, Mr. Evan Mobley, in a game where he played 32 minutes against the Timberwolves, he scored 4 points.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's bad.
That's real bad.
13 rebounds, 3 assists, but 4 points against the Timberwolves? Come on, man. I mean, Robin Lopez outscored him.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's tough.
That's
tough.
That is tough, man. And this is
I will say this though, dude. Like he is going against like a 4-time defensive player of the year. I bet Rudy Gobert.
Sure.
I mean, that guy still plays really good defense. So, the Cavaliers they're an anomaly to me, man. Like I was good. I was all on fire for him, and I got to give my boy Odellis Ferellis, who's not with us tonight. I got to give him some credit because he's the one that mentioned their schedule last week and was like, "Man, they got a tough road ahead. They got some challenges, and you're seeing it now. Like, I mean, is the Timberwolves a game you should lose? I don't know. Timberwolves have a lot of talent. The Warriors, you know what I mean? They play great at home. Obviously, they can win games on the road, but you lose that game. The one to me was like they were up 13 against the Clippers and blew that one. And the Clippers have been decent, not great. And then you go that Wednesday and you go play the Kings at the Kings and you lose that one. So there's 2 games there that they let kind of slip away that they should have won. And they let slip away. So, but they're definitely an anomaly to me, man. Like they're young, but it's like it's one of those teams where you really get hyped up for because they've got so much talent and they've got so much ability and they've got a good bench. They got good front court. They got good back court. And they got everything that you want from them, and then they give you a stretch like this where you're like, man, like a good team like that shouldn't have stretches like that. But like we talked about before, the NBA is a marathon and not a sprint. So, a first West Coast trip for a young team, they struggle. We've seen that before. So, I think they'll pull it together because I do think that they have a good squad, and I think they got enough veteran leadership to break this knot. But it makes me a little bit nervous because I really saw this team being a playoff contender. And if you struggle going on the West Coast or you struggle on the road, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the grind of the NBA season, man. I mean, you're gonna hit growing pains, especially a young team like this. So we'll see what's gonna happen with them. I'm pretty confident they're gonna be a pretty decent playoff contender this year.
Yeah.
You know,
I
I
love their
mean,
squad. I mean, I still love
oh,
I still love
oh,
who they have and all the
they're
guys
phenomenal.
and that squad is they're incredible. I do still think they'll make waves. You just kind of hope that this little skid doesn't deter them. Of course, like the NBA is a long season, it's not going to deter them. They're professionals, but you want to be able to win some of those games and build some momentum. And not have to have your little West Coast slide coming. You started at 4 games, you don't want it to go to 6 or 7.
Also, they've been playing without Mitchell the last couple games as well, so
Yeah.
that's a huge
Yep.
thing. I feel like he has been the biggest piece of their success this year, and he's been out for a couple of games. So, but Darius Garland, man, you got to give it to him, dropping 51 points on the Timberwolves, man.
Yeah.
That's really something. That is, But I think those two together are one of the best backcourts, if not the best backcourt in basketball right now. So
Yeah. No, I would definitely agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
now, in other news this week. Besides my Bulls just being complete and absolutely utter trash. In the group chat today, you had mentioned that you think that the Phoenix Suns might be a little bit overrated right now.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did.
He's like,
Um,
yeah, that was me.
I own it. I own it. Here's the thing, man. Like, and I think it's buyer's remorse. So like the last couple years, we've all bought into Monty Williams, and he's which he is, great coach.
Yes.
They've been able to make waves in the playoffs, but they've been cut short the last couple years, and we've just been trying to wait. We've been waiting on this team. We've been waiting on this team, and early on, like to me, like it's just they just had some really, really just not very good games. Like, like I'm not saying you had to play perfect, but like they're supposed to be an upper echelon team, and we've been riding this Chris Paul wave. Which Sean, I know Chris Paul is your favorite point guard of all time, and we've been riding this Devin Booker wave, and they re-signed DeAndre Ayton, and they did all these things, and they kept their coach, and you know, for a team like this, to me, to be 8-5, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I guess I just expect more. Like I don't know. Like
Well,
they got a loss this last week to the Magic.
yeah, so they have
Like
lost 4 out of the last 6 games,
yeah,
which is a little bit alarming, in my opinion, with what's going on now. Losing to the Heat, anyone can lose to the Heat.
absolutely,
I don't care who's playing for them. They might beat you. It doesn't matter.
absolutely.
That's how it is. But right now, they're without Chris Paul,
Yeah,
so he was out the last game, and it looks like he's been out the last couple of games. But losing to the Orlando Magic
yeah,
badly by
yeah,
17. I mean, who if your point guard's not there and you are a stud like Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. And I think DeAndre Ayton is capable of being a stud at some points. He should be better. I think he's disengaged at times because I don't really think he wants to be there. Just going to go out and say it. But I look at this team and I'm like, you're putting all of your eggs again in the same basket that you did last season. And you guys blew it and ended up losing to the Mavericks last year. What is different this year about this team, except you have a possibly less disengaged DeAndre Ayton?
Yeah.
I mean,
and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why I'm out on them. Like I said, I don't have anything. I don't have anything like. It's not anything bad, but like they didn't really do anything in the offseason besides re-sign DeAndre Ayton. They didn't really make any moves. They didn't do anything that caused waves. And now they sit here 8-5 with a loss to a really bad Orlando Magic team. And they're 8-5 and lost 4 of their last 6. I don't know. I just, to me, you want them to be an upper echelon team. You want them to be able to do all these things. And I guess I'm just tired of putting my eggs in the Phoenix Sun basket. I'm just kind of out on them. Not saying that they won't have success. Not saying that they won't be in the playoffs. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying for my being, I just don't think that they did enough, and it's starting to show. Even though Chris Paul is out now, you still have 2 young studs in Booker and Ayton, and you sit here at 8-5, and you're very mediocre.
Yeah,
at best.
Well, and like in looking over the next month of basketball for the Phoenix Suns, so the next 2 games. They have ones that might be a little bit tough. They're playing the Warriors tomorrow night, and then on Friday night they're playing the Jazz. Losers of 2, but still playing very, very well right now. But listen to this next group of games they have: the Knicks, the Lakers, the Pistons, the Jazz again, the Kings, the Bulls, the Rockets, the Spurs. These are all winnable games for Phoenix. These are all winnable games. So they have a decent schedule. It'll be really interesting to see over the next couple of weeks to see if they can actually take advantage of that without their point guard. But Chris Paul does so much for that team, and he does so much to unlock, I feel like, what Devin Booker does or Ayton. And him not being there should not be a death sentence for this team. But I feel like it is. It really is. Yeah. They are a team without identity without Chris Paul.
Which is crazy to think about, because and not to say that not to say that Chris Paul is he is everything is advertised, he really is. But for him to mean, I know he means a lot, but for him to mean that much, I don't know, man. That to me, a 38-year-old point guard being at that level of need for your team is not a good sign, towards the future. Not saying that Chris Paul can't do it, but Father Time catches us all, and he's going to miss more games. He's going to miss more games. He's going to have more injuries. There's going to be things that happen, and to me, if all your eggs are in the Chris Paul basket and he makes that much of a difference for your team, then I just don't see how far you can go with 38, 39-year-old point guard. No matter who it is. Chris Paul, whoever you think may. It's to me, not getting another point guard in his spot, not to replace him, but to be another engine or catalyst, is going to hurt them.
Yeah. I agree with all that. Moving away from the deserts of Phoenix, I kind of want to talk a little bit about a guy who's on a very lonely island I like to call the Oklahoma City Thunder. And it is a lonely island.
That is a lonely island.
So the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, as of today. Let me just load this up real quick here.
They're 6-8.
They are 6-8, and they have a guy who has been playing his absolute butt off this year, and is probably one of the most eligible guys out there to be traded for at the moment. This is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Absolutely.
He has played out of his mind this season already.
Mm-hmm.
So on the Celtics loss the other day, he dropped 37 points, 8 assists, and 4 rebounds. I mean, he is a complete and utter nightmare. On the Knicks the night before, he drops 37, 8, and 5. Okay. Okay. The Raptors, a game that they won. He throws down on the Raptors 24 and 3, not as big of numbers. And then the game before that, a loss to the Bucks. He drops 39 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. This guy is playing out of his mind right now. These are like the kind of, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of, you know, the mid 2000s or early 2000s Tracy McGrady down in Orlando type numbers where it could be a random night against the Clippers and, you know, he was dropping 50 points. They'd probably lose, but he'd still drop it and look absolutely incredible. That's all you would see on the highlights at the end of the day.
Right.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is one of those guys who I feel like has done nothing more over these last couple games than just blow up his trade value. This guy's 24 years old, and I mean, he's an all-star right now in my mind. He is.
Absolutely.
He is just playing crazy. Now, when you look at someone like him and you look at the assets that the Thunder already have and the assets that they want, which is going to be more draft picks, always more draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're going to end up with draft picks somehow this summer and Russell Westbrook. It's going to happen. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. You know it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
He will.
If you had to pick a team right now for Shea Gillis to go to, I mean, this is a very interesting guy, a guy who could help so many teams right now. Where would you like to see SGA?
Oh, gosh.
I'm really putting you on the spot right now with this one.
Yeah, I mean, because I'll say this, and this is going to sound crazy.
Okay.
I would like to see him. I kind of would like to see him hooked up with Luka in Dallas.
Ooh, I like it. Oh, that's an unstoppable pair.
I think that's what Luka is missing.
I don't think they have.
They don't have another guy like that.
They don't have another guy. I talked about this. He's a one-man show.
Yes, Luka does it all by himself.
There are no other studs there, and they traded away Porzingis, who wasn't great at all, but they traded him away for basically nothing.
Yeah.
In retrospect. Yeah. I've been kind of looking, and I've been thinking about this. This is one that I've been kind of thinking about over the last couple days, and there is one team that I would absolutely be just dying to see him on right now. And it's a team that has an asset that could 100% trade for this man. The Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh. They have a lot of assets they could trade.
They have a lot of assets. Obviously, the main one being James Harden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting to go back to his Oklahoma City island by himself.
Oh my gosh.
It's a lonely one. But I look at someone like SGA pairing him up with Embiid, who also, I mean, just has been out of his mind as well lately.
Yep.
I mean, just absolutely incredible. But could you imagine a scenario with those guys together? Like, I just think they would be so fun.
Yeah, they would be a lot of fun. And then you still have guys like Tobias Harris there who can play and can score. You put an SGA with that, and you put him with Embiid. Like I think, that would be a killer. that would be a killer.
I mean, you look at their roster and like looking back at I don't know if you saw the game on Sunday night, but Embiid ended up one man showing it over the Utah
Oh
Jazz.
yeah,
He dropped 59 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, and I think he
yeah.
had
Oh my
7
god, it
blocks
was
as well.
Tyrese Maxey too. Oh my gosh,
Yeah, so they have
Maxey, Shea, Harris, and Embiid.
yeah. So you think about it, they would have to give up more than probably James Harden for a deal like this. But later on in the season, if he's eligible for a trade, and I don't know what the if we're looking into season or what, but I look at a young guy like SGA who has been great. He's been a great player on a bad team, but I don't
Hmm.
think he's just a great player on a bad team. I think he really is a great player.
No, I agree. No, I would
I think,
definitely agree with that.
and he's gotten a little better each year. But you pair him up with Tyrese Maxey. Ideally, you want to keep him.
Yeah, but
Maybe
I would give up Harris and Harden
I'd
for
give up
him.
Harrison Harden, or I'd even give up Matisse Thybulle and
Yep. Well,
and
yep.
and Harden. I would
Absolutely.
go ahead and do it. I'd do straight up, and then maybe throw a pick in or something. Um, honestly, for Harden, it should just be a pick and Harden, to be
Hmm.
honest with you. But just to get another pick someplace down the line. But
Right.
I think about a place where that guy could grow his game and get a team to the next level. And Philly is definitely one of those teams that is. I mean, I feel like they've wasted Joel Embiid's prime.
1,000%.
They have
Absolutely.
wasted his prime over the last couple of
Absolutely.
years. The year that they ended up losing, well, the year before, was it the year before they ended up losing to? Yeah, the year before they
Hmm.
lost to the Raptors.
Hmm.
That was my favorite Philadelphia team. They were about a year early, and they were phenomenal that year. They were
Hmm.
so good. They had all these extra shooters that they had. Saric was still hanging out there. Embiid wasn't quite the dominant force he is now, but they
Right.
were on the cusp of something. And then the Ben Simmons stuff happens. Everything's just kind of went south. And
Right.
Embiid is he's really carrying this team. He is the MVP of this team.
Oh yeah.
James Harden, man, he's out. A guy who's been actually rock solid in terms of reliability, in terms of not being hurt. James
Yeah.
Harden is that guy. He's usually playing no matter what. But you see him out there and everything. He's out for I think what 2-3 more weeks, I think, before he's
I think so.
evaluated with his
Yeah.
hip or whatever. So I look at that and it's like are we gonna invest this much in James Harden at
Right.
this point? Does he get you
No.
over the hump? I don't know. I just don't see like Maxey's a great player, but he's not making some crazy astronomical jump right now.
Right.
I mean, he's
No,
averaging.
I
I
agree.
mean, he's averaging 22 a game, which is good, which is what he needs to be because he's been, he's carrying the load right now
Hmm.
and he's 22 years old, but and he's doing what he can, but they need one other guy down there,
Yeah. No,
and
I would definitely agree with that.
there is no way that this team, the way it is currently built, is beating Boston or the Bucks in a 7-game series. It's not
No.
happening.
No. We've already seen this movie, right? You know what I mean?
We've
Like this. We've seen
we've
this
seen it.
movie.
There was a really funny bit in a show that I watched on HBO a couple months ago. It's called Hacks, and there's a part where the main two females of the story, they go into a bar in Philly and they're talking about they're they're talking on the TV about the Philadelphia 76ers and how they've called the team trust the process and everything,
Hmm.
and she's like wow, that's a really good way to look at things, and she's like, how do they do every year? He goes, they blow it every year.
They blow it.
They
Actually,
blow it every year,
they
which
blow
was
it
like
every year.
which was one of the best like sports things that I've ever seen placed in a show. But it was because it was so true. It's like, no, they blow it every year.
Yeah,
It's true. And that's
which is so true.
it is true. It is true. But it's I don't know if SGA, he's one of my guys right now that I really, really like. I like his game. I think he's definitely an all-star right now. He's playing an all-star level, and he's got to be getting tired of losing.
Well, yeah, and that franchise is at some point you've got to take those draft picks and do some things with them. Like you're just holding on the draft picks. You've got two kids in Gideon and Shea that are giving you everything they got, and you've left them out there with nothing because you're not using the draft picks. You're not making trades. You're not making moves. You're not really doing anything. So why not? If you're going to blow it up all the way. Go ahead and move Shea. Go ahead and move Josh Giddey. Use your draft picks. You know, build your team the way you want to build your team, and let Shea go be on a team where he's got an opportunity to win some basketball games that mean something. Um, right now he's averaging over 31 points a game. I think he leads them in close to every statistical category. And he's carrying a load of a team that doesn't really have a future and doesn't have a future and doesn't have a direction, but just a lot of draft picks. So why not let that young man, go ahead and trade. Go ahead and trade for him. Go ahead and get him. Any place is better than sitting out in Oklahoma City just wasting away. And that's what he's doing right now. I mean, he's playing his tail off. He's doing what he needs to do. But let's be honest, like that team is not building for anything. They're not doing anything. They've been sitting on these draft picks for how many years now? At least 2 or 3,
A
4.
long time, a long time. I mean, they got Josh Giddey last year, and I like Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
But, he's not taking it to the next level right now. He's only averaging
No.
14 points a game. So
Yeah.
it's, there's nothing there right now. They have been out of the playoffs now. This will be their third season missing the playoffs. They're not making the playoffs this year. It's not happening.
Nope.
So,
yeah,
I don't know what.
Make a move?
I'm all for getting him out of there, but that's where I would like to see him. So that's my crazy trade take of the day.
That.
So,
hey, I was gonna say your boy Mark Cuban's crazy enough. He'll go get him.
he might, man. And I don't know what he's gonna give him, but I would love to see him with Luka. I think that would be phenomenal too.
Him or Luka or Embiid, either one.
Yeah, either put him with a great player. That's what I want to see.
Yep.
I want to see him with a really, really good player. So,
yep, absolutely.
All right. So we're getting towards the end of our show here, and we're going to talk. We're bringing back a segment, the Bench Gods.
Absolutely.
And these are basketball players in the NBA that are riding the bench, sixth men, if you will. Guys that are out there that are going under the radar, doing the dirty work to get their team to the next level. Ben, who's your bench god of the week?
My bench god of the week is my boy, former Pacer, Malcolm Brogdon of the Boston Celtics. Yes, I know, fellas. I know. Low-hanging fruit.
Little bit of a homer pick, if you ask me.
Little of a homer pick, But he's averaging 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and he's averaging 19.2 per possession. So, you can see his imprint on that team as far as perimeter defense and what he gives them off the bench with that second unit and the things he's been able to do to help the Boston Celtics be where they are right now, which is winner of their last 7. And I believe, what are they, 13-3, I think is what they are. So that's my bench god, Malcolm Brogdon.
Malcolm Brogdon. Well, it says he's questionable for his game against the Hawks. He's been out for a couple games, but hopefully he gets back and gets to it soon. So my bench god of the week is an interesting one. This gentleman is 27 years old and having the week of his life in the NBA. Milwaukee Bucks point guard, Javon Carter.
Okay.
Last Wednesday, ended up dropping in a 2-overtime thriller over Oklahoma City. 36 points, 12 assists, 1 steal, and then 4 rebounds. Incredible. Next game follows it up against San Antonio, 21 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds. And then last night against the Hawks, it was a loss, 12 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. The Bucks are getting some really, really good burn right now from some backup guys. And finding a guy like Javon Carter, who was drafted back in 2018 in the second round by Memphis, seeing him be able to come in here and do some dirty work, because the first couple of games he was getting a little bit of burn, but not enough to really do any damage. And, he's playing very well right now. So he's
Yeah.
someone to keep your eye on right now. I feel like with everything the Bucks are going on, they're trying to get production out of all of these guys. And you look at somebody like Javon Carter, if he stays healthy and everything this season, getting towards the playoffs, he might be one of those guys that comes in. He might be an X factor kind of guy if he keeps this up.
Mhm.
You never know. It's always those guys that get that one little shot to be able to help their team at the end and get it. So
Yeah.
great week from Javon Carter. So,
That's
well,
awesome.
it is. It is. Well, that is going to wrap us up today for our episode of 48 Minutes. Like I said before, check out our Twitter. Check out our Facebook. We are all over the place. Like I said, we're going to be live tomorrow over at Truist Arena in Highland Heights, Kentucky for the UC NKU game, which is going to be very, very, very interesting. NKU is coming off a game where they beat UC Claremont by 40 points, and which is expected. And UC 3-0 right now, so it's gonna be a heck of a game tonight. Also, make sure you're paying attention to Tim Daniel right now. He's actually out at the Xavier game. You can catch him out there, and for all the rest of the guys here and Ben, I'll tell you guys, have a great night.